Yeshua. They weren't able to recognize Jesus, even though he's prophesied throughout the whole Old Testament. So that's another miscalculation in understanding.
Let me just straight. Adrian's wrong in what he's saying. Look,
How?
I'll tell you how Adrian's wrong, right? Okay. Adrian's wrong in this year. They got the date right. They got the location wrong. It's location. It's about location, man.
Yes, because it's heaven.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, so come on, man.
I mean, that's a big detail.
Back me up as a big man. Come back me up.
I hear what you're saying.
All right, Adrian, I knew what he's talking about. I just wanted to drop you.
But people sold their homes. People left their businesses.
I want to be facetious.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
all. I want to be facetious.
And so what you got there, we started, no matter what you say, we started on the basis of an error. And we came into this amazing thing. God revealed the Sabbath to us, allowed us to discover the Sabbath. But that error was saying something about dates. Don't keep getting worked up about dates. So what happened? What we had, let me just take this in one or two. 1888, straight away again, was coming to Christ. And then 1948, 1917 and 1935, two world wars. We're thinking, Adventists going rummaging through their Bible. Surely this is it, because this is a time of trouble such as never was. After World War I, World War II, then you had 1960, 61, the Cuban Missile Crisis. There's going to be a nuclear. We've seen what happened in Hiroshima and Nagasaki in '45. Yeah. This is terrible. Yeah. And then just at the last moment, Khrushchev pulls his weapons out of Cuba, and so then Kennedy pulls back from the brink. Reminds me of this time when we now you have people that were being told at work, if you don't take the jab, you're going to lose your job. And so people were feeling that this pressure is coming onto us, and then just at the last moment, the actual no jab, no job mandatory element was rescinded. And so there was Ellen White spoke about the winds of strife will blow, the angel will drop his hand and the wind will blow on the earth, and then the angel will raise his hand again and it will stop. And this has happened. And then people were saying man's going to land on the moon in 1969. God will not allow this because there's been sin on the earth. God wouldn't allow us to go up there, and we're in quarantine here. He wouldn't allow that. And then the year 2000. With God 1 day is as 1,000 years, and 1,000 years is 1 day. So we've been on the earth for 6,000 years. The 7,000th is the millennium. So the year 2000 is the Sabbath millennium. Jesus has got to come in the year 2000. And here we are now. We're still here, and Jesus hasn't come. And so the thing is, have we learned about date setting? Have we learned about racism? You can't win people if they have a perception about your group. And this is, racism has infected other Christian groups before, so that is a real challenge. And we know that racism will exist till Jesus comes, but we have got to face it down.
Well, the old man go first. But anyway, listen, what I'm saying to you is that, listen, we've got to remember also that God put his hand over it. So it was in God's hand while he put his hand over it that I'm going to say mistake. That mistake was in God's timing and God's order.
Which mistake?
1844. The great disappointment.
Yeah. God put his hand over.
He wanted it to happen.
Yeah, that's what it's like, to remind us, to emphasise it. So don't keep date setting.
So he made sure. So that's all I want to inject with Adrian, man. I just want to bully him a bit. He's a bit older than me, but I just want to push him and nudge him.
So let me ask you guys a question then on the misinterpretation of scripture, because I don't think 1844. I don't believe that was the first time it's happened. I think even before Christianity, when you look at Judaism with the Pharisees, basically looking at Jesus just walking past them. I mean, we've read all the messianic prophecies in the Old Testament. He'll be born in Bethlehem. He'll come out of Egypt. He'll be born to a virgin. How could you look at all of that? And these guys were doctors of the law. The Pharisees, you look at Gamaliel, the one who trained Paul. These guys were studying the Torah like nobody's business. How could they misstep?
They still missed it.
Jesus right in front of them, and it's not like Jesus was.
But your concept of Jesus, the concept
that they expected.
Yeah,
that's a good point.
Obviously, the shepherds that were they were looking for his coming, and the angels could go to them because they were humble men. Remember, a lot of time, the man that God uses is the humble man, or the man who's not well educated. The educated man has a conceived idea of how things go. Like, for instance, not moving off the subject, there's a guy in Adventism that he's a big theologian, and he's saying that there's no Sunday law, and the way we have the coming of Jesus is totally wrong, and most of the ministers are following him. But he's just a Danite. He can listen, man. He's so intelligent, yeah. He can throw from the left and the right. You know how the Danites was, and obviously the Danites were the ones that were bringing in the alphabet people of their time. I can't say it how you say it. You know, be careful. Even though we're off script, yeah. But I'm saying his name's Jan Paulson. Yeah, Jan Paulson is saying a lot of stuff about the coming of the Lord, and he's saying straight that, listen, the way Adventists have it is totally wrong. But this guy is a setup. He's a plant. Definitely a plant. And a lot of people are not realising that most of the main guys in the ballpark are plants. Even I know I'm coming off base. Even what's his name? What's the guy? Mark Finley. Mark Finley was backing up the abortions, and you know the abortions that are taking place. What kind of people were they aborting Adventism? Adventist hospitals was aborting people.
No, really?
Well, of course he knows.
No way.
Well, the thing is, all of these things, in a sense, all of these things, do they matter? Your commission is every man seek out his own salvation. You can't, whatever's going on or what appears to be going on, how can you change that? Is Satan trying to distract you and me from this work of preparing souls and pointing to Christ? Why was not, let me ask you a question, why wasn't Christ in the temple trying to change all these things that was going on then? Why didn't he just leave the people on the street and go in and try to...
But he wasn't. I think he started off in the temple. He went in the temple, he read the scriptures, he told them, I am the bread of life, eat my body, etc., etc. He was there in the temple. They kicked him out of the temple and wanted to throw him off the cliff.
He leaves on record, he says on record, that listen, when they persecute one city, flee to the next city. So he was persecuted. But I want to get back to my point, right? Because this guy's shocking me, telling me, I know I'm off base a bit. He's telling me that he never knew that Adventists were doing abortions. So what about the transgender operations? You don't know they do transgender?
No, I knew about that.
So if they're doing transgender operation, why won't they do abortions? Come on, man.
But can they be classed as Adventists when they're doing that anyway? You know what I mean?
Well, Jan Paulson's saying a lot of stuff.
Well,
anyway, let me leave it.
Well, the thing is, how change happens. There was a gentleman years ago. He wrote a book called. His name was Joe Cruz, I think.
He was great.
Creeping Compromise.
Very good.
And this happens from the outside in. It's interesting. If you think this week, who is it now? Justin Welby, the leader of the Church of England. He's come in against the government. When they're talking about sending refugees to Rwanda, and the papers have really slammed him. And remember when, just before Christmas, when J.K. Rowling, of all people, she came out and she said that, come on, let's be sensible here. On the issues of gender fluidity, she said a male is a male and a female is a female. And they were so outraged at her. What they did, all the actors and the directors and the film producers who were made famous and got their money off the back of her books, the Harry Potter books, they had a union, a uniting, a great big party just before Christmas, and they excluded her. Now, I'm not a Harry Potter follower, but the point, I'm talking about the principle. The very person who made them famous and gave them their careers, they turned around and spat upon her. This is what Satan does. And in these two situations, isn't it interesting? It's the Stones crying out. You know, we say, well, we're not Church of England, but we are Protestants, we're Seventh-day Adventists. But Justin Welby comes out and says that. J.K. Rowling comes out and says that. And look how they're treated because they speak out. But the government says, stick to church. They said to Justin Welby, by the year 2030, the Church of England will be virtually empty. So go and sort that out. Don't talk about these issues. However, the state likes to come into the church and tell us you can't talk about certain things, which is why you're using code to speak about gender fluidity, because you're consciously aware of the situation that we've been put in by the state. And so now you got a thing called conversion therapy, and that's.
Sorry, I just want to say what is Adrian here? I'm not frightened of the church. I'm just telling you straight. I'm not frightened of the church, but I'm frightened of the state. So I'm not like you two guys here. You two guys are bold. So listen, I'm going to talk in code.
But don't you find it annoying?
He just wants us arrested and him to get away.
No.
But isn't it
I'm on the table with you, so obviously I'm going to get done too. But I'm saying to you, me personally, I'm just telling you straight. Me personally, right? I'm on recording or whatever. I'm actually frightened of the state. So I'm careful. I'm careful. I'm going to be careful what I'm going to say.
But don't you find it frustrating that we have to do the code? But if it was Islamic, we know Muslim religion is. You know what I mean? When it comes to those kind of topics, they can just open a sheikh can just openly sit here and say homosexuality, this, nothing. No left-wing person's gonna say, oh, they're homophobe. No one's. But Christians, we have to mince our words. We have to tread carefully. All these things.
Accommodation and rationalisation.
Muslims, Jews,
They can do what they want.
they can say what you go to a rabbi, they'll say stone them. But us.
Well, that's how the state has affected us in the sense that these words are very powerful. Homophobic. If you say anything. Conversion therapy. When I first heard this term, conversion therapy,
I want you to come back to that. I just want to cut in there, Adrian. And look, we live in a cancel culture.
Cancel culture, yeah.
And we are being programmed. Before you get to the thing, we are being programmed. The church is being programmed. Now, when the church first came out, the church was a church that was following like what this Ministry of Healing would say, that God's healing is natural remedies. Now the church is actually coming out and saying that the MRI jab is the healing. No. We can laugh about it, but what I'm just trying to say to you that we've changed because the algorithm is running within the church, right? So people today are saying that, listen, I got my jab because God gave the scientists the knowledge to give the jab, right? And it's God that's doing it. But we all know really deep down, even though we don't want to talk about it, because I'm scared. I'm telling you, I'm scared to talk about it, right? That technology that they got there is a technology that, when you check that technology out, you go back to the time of the scientists under Hitler, and you go to IG Farben and you trace all these companies, right? These big companies, yeah. These are the same companies that went to Africa and they tried it out in Africa. They tried it in this place, and they killed the people. Even today, you've got polio coming back, and it's not the wild polio. It's the polio that a group of people. And you said their name, Bill Gates and Melinda Gates. They went down. They went to India. They went to Africa, and they gave them polio, right? And now, when the wild polio comes, there's problems, and these things are. What was it? Sorry, cameraman. What was the thing that thing that we've talked about today?
Hepatitis B.
Hepatitis is on the
It's
rise.
coming back on kids now.
Yeah, it's coming on kids, but we know where it's coming from, but we can't say nothing about it because we know for a fact that we get banned. The church is the church is saying that I'm talking about you, not so much Lepo, I'm talking about you, that you're a conspiracy theorist. Well,
I want to come back to that conspiracy theorist thing, but let me just say this. When I first heard of the term conversion therapy, I had this picture of someone who struggles with their sexuality having electrodes put on their heads and everything, and a switch being put on. And this is kind of abuse, you're putting electrodes through someone's head. But then it began to evolve to simply praying for somebody. And now, and if you do that, if someone asks you to pray for them, this is hate speech. But this new woman who's come through, a woman called Jane Ozanne, who's come out as gay, and she is a Christian, and she says that there is now such a thing I want to call hate prayer. So now, the state, through certain people, have imposed upon us as Christians, Bible-believing Christians, you daren't say anything in this council culture because it is now illegal. So we are scared. We're on the back foot. So that is why we are reluctant to say anything. Now, Jesus said, on the one hand, well, we've been told in the Bible to be as wise as serpents, harmless as doves. Jesus also said, I have not come to bring peace, but a sword. I've come to turn this member of the family against that member of the family. We've seen this in a dry run, in situations with the COVID situation. There's people within families and within the church. I was saying this to Seppo on the way up. Take us now. We're in a church, all right? You think about how can you cause a separation and a division in church from the outside? It's amazing how it's happened. You've taken the no, you haven't taken the vaccine. I've taken the vaccine.
I've taken the boosters. I'm vaccinated.
Right now we haven't had this conversation.
Tell lies, man. Stop bumming this.
No, I'm vaccinated.
So you're boosted. You haven't taken the vaccine. I've taken the vaccine.
Yeah.
Right? Hello, my brother. Hello, my brother. But what we don't speak about is that you have not taken the vaccine, and your opinion of me, who's taken the vaccine, and of him, is that we are sellouts, and we lack backbone to actually stand up. And you've done some research about the vaccine, and we're ignorant. Our opinion of you is that you're irresponsible,
selfish,
and you're a conspiracy theorist, and you're selfish. But we haven't had this conversation. But Satan has caused it so that we are polarized without actually having even had a conversation. We have an opinion of each other.
But it's just algorithm running. That is the program that's going on. Oh, all right, let stay on your subject there, yeah? There's a guy called Aaron Russos, yeah, who did Trading Places. You remember that film Trading Places with Eddie Murphy? So anyway, he did it now, yeah? So the Rockefeller Foundation asked him this question about the Women Live. And he said such and such about it. He goes, "Man, you're an idiot. We are the ones that created that program, that the women could send the kids to think that they're empowered, smoke, and everything like that. And we send the kids to school that we've got more control over them." Now, this control's been going along for a long time. Right? These algorithms they've been running, right? They've been controlling the church, is the especially the Seventh Adventist Church. You think about it now. Yeah, I'm not losing your topic. How could a Seventh Adventist church in 1930, 1940 back Hitler? This is the church that is God's church. But yet when Hitler came, they were backing Hitler just the same as Rome was backing Hitler. Right? You come down to the Seventh Adventist church now, yeah. United States of America goes to Jehovah's Witnesses and tell them that they can't do such and such. The Jehovah's Witnesses says no, they lock the Jehovah's Witnesses up. Now, they come to the Adventist church, they said, we don't like you talking about saying that we're the beast power, you need to change it. They changed their doctrines. 1956, Barnhouse and Martin, yeah, comes to church just and said that we believe you're a cult, you have to change things. They got frightened and said, well, we need to change things. And they changed things. So I'm saying to you, we're living in a culture where the church that we know, after the pioneers died out, yeah, they'll sell you for a bag of rice. Not even a bag of rice. They've sold their members out. Most of the members, and you can't. For me, I don't think personally you can blame the members. Other people say to me, they're a sellout. No, they're not a sellout. They were looking for someone to lead. And at the very time when this thing was planned out, the church got paid. Not just the Seventh Adventist Church, all the other churches got paid money. Right? There's some churches received 30,000 to encourage their members. And you think about it now. What was the set of people they really wanted? People like me, that look like me and you more so. Bill and Melinda Gates said, these are the people that should go first. And we see all along the time, yeah, that it's always people that look like me and you are the guinea pigs. Yeah, but don't forget your foot where you was before.
And this is my disclaimer, this is my opinion, so bear with me. So, you know, I was looking into, you know, who's the president of it's the Ted, right?
Ted Wilson, yeah.
And
by the way, let me just say to you, it's a proper sellout.
This is my opinion.
I'm just telling you.
You're going to say as well?
Adrian might back him up because Adrian might be a friend of
right,
you.
Right, sure. You're his friend, right? Adrian is his friend. So this is my opinion.
I've stood next to him, but not for a photo opportunity because I was too short.
Okay, don't worry.
So you know, this is my opinion only. I saw him, you know, attending UN meetings, you know, shaking hands with the Pope, and I was just sitting there scratching my head. I was like, what's going on here? And then I see him talking about telling people to receive the jab. So, you know, for me, I never look up to any of these leaders in these organizations, because any organization can be infiltrated. It's not impossible. And when you look at, like we talk about history repeating itself, even with the Pharisees, the Sadducees, and the Sanhedrin, you know, you had the high priests, you had the high officers and the high orders. They were the ones that were planning and plotting to kill Christ. So you can be back in the day.